It's almost like a putting things off. If we want to label it, it's a term of procrastination. Putting things off, and I just want to break this down into a couple of different areas. Putting things off because you don't have the energy right now or because you're not up for it right now, that's fine. So it's almost like I have my taxes due in January, for example. I don't want to do them right now, but I'm going to do them next week. I didn't call that procrastination or self-sabotage or putting things off. It's like right now I don't have the energy, but I've got a plan to do it. Wait until the 31st of December to do my taxes when they're due on the 1st of January.
Hi, Stavros. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mark. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
I am very excited to talk to you. You are a conscious coach that works with high achievers overcome certain obstacles that they have been facing for a long time. So before we even deep dive into this, what is a conscious coach?
That's a good question. What is a conscious coach? So a conscious coach is looking into what is underneath. So when people come in with problems and things like that, their patterns, their issues that they want to clear, it's looking at what's underneath the hood, what's really causing that. In effect, a conscious coach is more, if you want, a subconscious coach. It's finding root the behavior that's really causing the problems in the first place. What's really driving the patterns, the issues that one person has.
Could you give an example of a problem that majority of your clients come with?
Yeah, problems can vary, but there's some like imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, procrastination, perfectionism, money worries, especially entrepreneurs that actually do have money worries. So there's a lot of things like that they come in with.
Yeah. Let's talk about the top three, which is entrepreneurs face on a daily basis. Let's talk about procrastination. Let's talk about self-sabotage.
Sure.
Let's talk about imposter syndrome. And we can start with any one of them. To me, what is the most interesting is self-sabotage because it's not as discussed as the other two that I mentioned. So tell me your perspective of it and why it happens.
Okay, so self-sabotage, let's talk about it from you. So if you were to think about self-sabotage, what do you think of it? What comes up for you when you think of self-sabotage?
I know what I need to do to get a certain outcome, but for some reason I'm not doing it. And therefore I don't get the result that I want. I look back at it. I know what I should have done. I can't say that, oh, I didn't know I had to do it. I exactly knew what to do it. Truthfully, I sabotaged myself for some reason.
And you sabotage yourself in what way? Did you put it off? Did you try to do it perfectly? What is a way that you sabotage yourself? Or I'm not asking you to go deep, but just like an overview, like what could you have done that you didn't do?
Let's say put it off. And I'm talking from personal experience right now. Let's say
absolutely. So it's the best experience.
Yeah.
So let's go for putting things off. If we put things off, let me just break it down. It's almost like a putting things off. If we want to label it, it's a term of procrastination. Putting things off, and I just want to break this down into a couple of different areas. Putting things off because you don't have the energy right now or because you're not up for it right now, that's fine. So it's almost like I have my taxes due in January, for example. I don't want to do them right now, but I'm going to do them next week. I didn't call that procrastination or self-sabotage or putting things off. It's like right now I don't have the energy, but I've got a plan to do it. Wait until the 31st of December to do my taxes when they're due on the 1st of January. So I wanted to separate that out. So putting things off when you don't have the energy to do something, that's not called procrastination. I have a plan to do it, and when the plan comes, I'm going to do the thing. Putting things off and waiting until the last moment, I'll do it later. That is, if you want, a form of self-sabotage, a form of procrastination. And so with those things, what happens is we want to do something. Let's say we procrastinate. I'll give you the great example, like you're talking about self-sabotage. Let's just use procrastination in there as well. We want to do something. And so what do we do when we have procrastination? We read a book. We go to Google. We ask, what's the best thing to do if I procrastinate? You usually get something like, do the biggest task first. Do the smallest task first. Chunk up your day. Break it down into manageable bite-sized pieces. And again, these are all well and good. These are tools that are all well and good that can help you, and they do have their merit. However, these tools are trying to cope with they're using procrastination as their problem. Procrastination itself is not a problem. It's a consequence of what you tend to believe. It's a byproduct. For example, if you were to believe that you're not good enough, if you were to worry about what other people think of you, if you want your work to be perfect, if you're worried about making a mistake, you believe all this deep down in the subconscious area, then the byproduct is you're going to procrastinate, you're going to put things off, you're going to self-sabotage. So rather than actually deal with the issue of procrastination, you look at, if you want, what's underneath the hood. what's really causing the problem in the first place.
Yeah. So in a way, you're saying is that usually when we know we are procrastinating, our first step is to find tactics or hacks. Whereas what really is happening is we need to identify what is happening subconsciously that is causing us to procrastinate in the first place. So let's say that is, because I'm telling you from a real world example, right? I just competed in a bodybuilding competition. I won, but there were things that I should have done a week prior to that competition that I didn't. And what caused was the week of the prior to the competition, I was extremely stressed. I had to go really hard to be able to get the result when I could have just started doing this thing a few weeks ago. So now that I'm reminiscing about it, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I had the time and the resources to be able to do it, but I just didn't do it. So let's say I am in this position. How do I start diagnosing and identifying what happened, why I acted this way?
Okay, we can do a little quick exercise right now that anyone can do. If you want, you can. So this was the prior to the bodybuilding competition. You had stuff to do and you were putting it off.
Correct.
What were you trying to do that you were putting off?
I knew that I needed to get my posing better. Building a body is one task, and then be able to pose right is another task. You don't get points for a great body. You get points for posing correctly. So what I should have done was focused more on the posing aspect of it weeks before when I had the time and I didn't.
And what did you need to get the posing right? Did you have to go and see someone? Is it just you just spending time in the mirror?
Spending time in the mirror, practicing at home, and I already have a coach that I go see, so I can't avoid that. But what I should have done was gone to the coach, learn stuff, come home, practice. But instead I did the bare minimum, which is went to the coach, came back, did nothing, and then went back to the coach again.
Okay, got you. So the issue was that you didn't practice. So you went to the coach and didn't practice. Cool. So we got our issue where it's come out is that you didn't practice. So let's do this quickly. I want you to close your eyes for me. And I want you to imagine right now, even though this is something that happened in the past, I want you to imagine right now, as if it's happening right now in this very moment. I want you to imagine that you're about to start your practice for your posing. And as you think about doing that right now, you need to notice what feelings are coming up for you, Mark.
The feelings are logical feelings that, yeah, I need to do this thing. And if I do this, I will get better.
Okay. What other feelings are coming up for you just before the logic kicks in?
Perhaps a little bit of anxiety.
Okay. Where are you feeling that anxiety in your body?
In my heart.
Feel that anxiety as much as you can in your heart. And I just want you to notice, you don't have to say anything for now, notice the thoughts that come up related to that feeling of anxiety. What thoughts are coming up for you?
What if I do all the right work and still don't get the results I want?
Yep. What else is coming up?
I think that's just
one.
Yeah.
So what if I do all the right work and I don't get the results I want? When you're ready, you can open up your eyes. So what if I do all the right results, all the right things, and I don't get the results I want? Let's say we had someone called John, for example. And John was thinking those things. What beliefs or what blocks would you say John has? What does he believe about himself for him to have those limiting thoughts?
I don't know. Tell me.
I'm going to do all these things and I'm not going to get the results I want. So a block may be there for John. I'm using John as an example just to take you out of the... Sometimes if your viewers are listening and they want to try this, it's sometimes easier to take it outside of yourself and just say, what if this person had this thing? So what if I do all the work and don't get the results I want? So a limiting block there could be what makes me good enough is achieving things. I have to achieve things.
Absolutely.
That could be a block in itself. It's all about the result. In other words, it's all about the result.
Absolutely.
That?
Absolutely. Yes, that's 100% correct.
Yeah. So that's a limiting block in itself.
But why is
another one could be like...
But why is that a limiting block? I like to win. I've always won. That it is about the result. There is only one winner.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're saying is that if I do all the work, it still won't be enough. And the limiting block behind is that it's all about the result. My question is, why is that a bad thing?
Here's the thing. All limiting, I don't call them negative. They're called limiting blocks. It's because you just said, I won't do enough. So there's another block underneath that. But if we take out the block, what makes me good enough is achieving the results. Once you won or once you've achieved the result, you feel good, right? You Absolutely. Feel good. You feel what? How do you feel?
Fantastic.
Cool. And how long does that feeling last?
Not very long, because you move on to the next thing.
Exactly. You move on to the next thing. So there's a block there that you're stuck. There's a cycle there. Once I achieve this result, I feel good enough. but I only feel good enough for the moment. And then I'm back to the next thing. I'm back to the next cycle. The next thing I need to choose in order to feel the good enough part, in order to feel important, whatever the thing is. Right now is that there is no choice there available. You don't have choice. Let me break this down with another example. I'll come back to the result. Let's say someone has a block such as, what makes me important is helping people. Say to me, why do I want to get rid of that belief? Why do I want to clear that block out of the way? Well, the reason being is because that at the moment you're helping people in order to feel some sense of importance about yourself. And it's almost like you're chasing that high. So what happens then if you have that block is that you might go and help people even if they don't need help. You might be putting yourself in situations or overexerting yourself when you don't really need to.
Very true. I can totally see that.
So by clearing that out, you get to help people because you want to, because you choose to, not because like you feel like you have to, because you're chasing a high. So going back to your one about getting results, I can choose to go for the results because I want to, because I choose to, not because I'm chasing a temporary high. Because even you yourself, it said it only lasts for a few moments until I'm back on the next thing, chasing the next thing. It's almost like you're in a cycle. Once I get that thing, I feel okay, then I'm back to the next thing. But there is no choice there.
But I'm choosing to decide to win, right? Every time I enter, I'm entering with choice and I'm choosing to win. So I'm having trouble understanding what the alternative would be. Like, what would it feel like to do it like you're saying? Because I just don't know how to do it. What would that feel like to say, I have the choice, therefore I'm going in?
Is that you're choosing to do the tactics, you're choosing to do the thing in order to win without putting all that pressure on yourself. I'm like, I have to win in order to, because once I get this result, I feel okay. It's almost like you're trying to get your hit of your drug in a way. You're trying to get that hit by getting the result. If you don't get the result, you don't feel that great.
Yeah, no, I get the analogy. I'm just thinking if I were to redo again, like what would I, because I have another competition coming up. So now knowing this, how would I go about it differently? Yeah. What would the daily actions and the thoughts would be so that I have a different way of going about it?
That we did at the beginning, I got you to close your eyes. When you close your eyes and we've cleared out the blocks, you won't be thinking, there won't be no anxiety there. That pressure won't be there. It just feels clear. It just feels like plain, neutral. Like I'm going to pick up my bottle of water and drink. It just feels, that's what we want to get to the neutral feeling. So there's no like anxiety. There's no pressure. I'm like, I must get this.
Okay.
So you want to take out, so it just feels like a normal thing to do.
So the goal is to be able to take out the feelings of anxiety and pressure and stress and just be neutral about it.
Exactly. You don't need the excited feeling, you just need to be neutral about it, then you get to choose.
But then where does one get that drive? No, the drive, when we have that drive to win, we are able to pull things out of ourselves that we previously thought were unimaginable, right? Neutrality doesn't create that drive, or does it?
No, it does. Because you're having choice. You get to choose what you want to do. For example, you can still go and chase the results, but it's much easier to chase the results when you don't feel like you have to, when you can choose to chase the results.
Interesting.
So it's almost like when someone has a block around working hard, they feel the need to work hard. I have to work hard. But here's the thing, when you have that block, everything seems like hard work. There is no flavor in between. There is no scale in between. Everything is hard work. Picking up my kids is hard work. Making a breakfast is hard work. Going to the gym is hard work because I see everything through the lens of I need to work hard.
Interesting.
When you don't have that block, you can choose to work hard if you want to, because some things do require hard work, other things don't. For some stuff in your life, you want to achieve the results. For other stuff, it's not about achieving a result. For example, when you're sitting down having a conversation with your other half, for example, it's not about achieving results. Sometimes I just want to sit down and have a conversation. If I'm always chasing the result, are we done here? Are we not done here? Going out we can express, maybe even a stranger example, is like going out to eat. Okay, have I finished this meal? Cool, I got the result of finishing the meal, if I want to extrapolate it that far. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm trying to wrap my hand around it. It's almost like choosing to pursue something or versus feeling like having to do it. So essentially it comes down to
exactly
reframe of the mind.
Exactly.
talking about
clearing out what blocks are underneath, it's automatic. It's not like we find out enough blocks, enough beliefs, we clear out. It's an automatic thing. There's no conscious awareness of it. It's almost once you clear out the root, I get to choose to do these things. So we're not getting rid of drive. And it's a great question that you ask, because I've had a lot of entrepreneurs say to me exactly that same thing. If I clear this out, a classic example is mistakes and a block being mistakes and failures are a bad thing. I've had a client say to me, oh, if I clear that out, would I not care about my work? Absolutely not. Totally the opposite. You value doing good work. So you're going to check for mistakes. You're going to check for, you're going to double check things as you usually do. It's just not going to give you that anxiety if you make a mistake. It's not going to give you that stress. We're not taking away what you value.
I'm curious.
So you value drive, right?
Yeah.
You value being driven. So we're not taking away that driven part of you. We're just clearing out the, if you want, the hooves in the way.
Yeah. But I'm just curious, like, in theory, this sounds wonderful. Is it possible to be someone who doesn't have anxiety or stress when they're pursuing something really hard? It's the fight or flight response. So when you're in a competition, when some stakes are high and you're in a fight, stress and anxiety will come along with it. The Zen-like peace that we're talking about, is that really practical?
It is. When you look at what's underneath, when you clear out what's underneath. Are there times there where it might be like a little bit there? Sure. In certain situations, maybe in very extreme situations.
How does one go about reprogramming? So, for example, you brought up a great example, and I have clients who say the same thing to me all the time. That the only way they can do things is they take pride in working hard, and it's their identity has become that they're a hard worker. And when I explored that with them, I realized part of the reason that has become their identity is because pretty much anything they have achieved in life is because they had to work really hard for it. Somebody had disability, somebody didn't grow up as privileged, and there were obstacles that they just made up for working really hard. So when someone has 20, 30, 40, 50 years of programming within them, where their entire identity is made from, I'm a hard worker, how does one start reframing that? What are some exercises they can do? What are some habits they can develop as a coach? What would you say they should do?
Okay, just before I get to that, someone has that thing around working hard, right?
Yeah.
All their life they've been working hard. So they've been wearing, if you want, they've been wearing a virtual set of goggles that says everything takes hard work. So in other words, they've missed opportunities where things are easy because they've only seen anything through their blinders, through that lens of everything is hard work. When we remove the blinders, when we remove those virtual goggles that everything is hard work, all other options now show up to them. They've seen things that can be hard. They can also see where things work can be easy, and every single flavor in between. It's just giving more and more options available. Because if you have a block or a belief that everything is hard work or my identity is hard work, everything you're going to see is through that lens.
Yeah.
You won't see the easy thing over here because it's almost like a horse with blinders if you want.
Yeah.
You can't see what's on this side at all. You can only see, that's the hard work. That's the path I need to go through. You're going to ignore everything. Even if you see something easy, it's like, not for me. It's almost like you're going to block it out.
So it's almost what you're saying is that because their identity is that they're a hard worker, they are interpreting even the easy things as hard work.
As hard work.
Yeah.
And
that very resonates with me.
And I'm not saying there is no hard work. Things aren't hard, but when you take off the blinders, you can see every single flavor in between. It's almost like what I said to you earlier about getting rid of a belief such as mistakes and failures are bad. Doesn't mean they don't care about their work. Now they can see every flavor in between. That mistakes could be bad, mistakes are a good thing, and every single flavor in between. It's almost like we don't want to be tied to the one thing. It's almost like you want to have the breadth of options there available to you.
Correct. Yeah, the hard work.
So for you, it's all about the results. And that's true. Some things, they could be all about the results. Other things, it's not. And every single flavor in between. I'm all about giving clients the choice. I want them to have choice. I don't want them to be tied into like just the one thing and that's the way it has to be. That's the whole point of the work. In a sense, it comes down to giving clients the choice, getting rid of those.
So how does that work with procrastination? Because procrastination is a little bit different than, it's the exact opposite that we're just talking about. Here we're talking about extremely driven people who are thinking everything is hard, going gung-ho all the time, right? But let's talk about somebody who is a professional procrastinator, right? All their life, they have passed up on opportunities just because they haven't risen up to the occasion for whatever subconscious reasons there are. How does giving choice to that type of individual look like? What does that involve?
You want to get rid of the blocks that would cause procrastination. So, such as someone who procrastinates maybe worries a lot about what other people think of them. They want to do things perfectly. Perfectionism and procrastination are like cousins, if you want. That's how I see it. Like I said earlier, they're worried about making a mistake. They might think that what they have to say is not important. What they do, another big one is that what they do doesn't matter. So can you see how even just having those 5 blocks there, how procrastination can be a symptom of those things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, this is
So it's
fascinating.
so it's not the procrastination that's really the issue. It's what's actually causing it in the first place.
No, this is quite fascinating. So let's talk more about that because I'm very curious. So let's say one of the reasons for the procrastination is, and I'm channeling real people I know and having this conversation, right? I know people who procrastinate, as you say perfectly, which is that whatever I do doesn't matter. And this belief system has been built into them because of their upbringing, because of the relationship they have been in, all those things. How does one start undoing? Because a lot of times we know what is it that is wrong with us in this example, if you may, right? Not that there's something wrong with us, but like what the problem is, what the obstacle, but we just don't know how to go about it. So let's say there is somebody who's listening to this and says that that's exactly me. Stavros just exactly just defined who I am, that I feel like no matter what I do is never going to be good enough. How does one start working on that?
Okay. The first thing is, which a lot of things say, and I don't agree with, is try and clear it out consciously.
What does that mean?
By that, I mean it. A lot of people say, try and reframe it. Try and reframe it and almost like consciously remind yourself about it. What you do does matter and you are good. That's almost trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes a lot of effort, and as soon as you switch the other way, look the other way, the beach ball has popped up. That block was not created on a conscious level, if you want. Something like that was probably created in the first 7 years of life. When you're young, when you're a young kid, you tend to believe everything your parents say to you, where the subconscious was formed, if you want. And so you want to erase the belief, literally get rid of the belief by going to where that story was originally formed, And all you have to do is, as an adult, go back to that and find another story as to why you thought that. So it's almost like you want to contradict that first belief. So let me give you an example. You said, what I do doesn't matter. Maybe when you were younger, your parents never paid attention to you. So you decided as a young kid, I guess whatever I do doesn't matter. You can give yourself another story, like actually what you did doesn't matter. Your parents just didn't have the capacity to show you that you matter. They were just dealing with their own stuff. And once you can look at that, it's almost like the brain can't hold 2 opposing ideas at the same time. One's going to pop out. It almost like loose the belief, if you want.
Interesting.
And that is part of the training that I did way back when, that I use sometimes, not all the time with clients, but it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
I've since evolved since then, but
yeah. No, definitely you are bringing a breath of fresh air to these topics because, as you said, a lot of this is just dealt with either tactical things, that surface level stuff that is done, or just acceptance of the fact that this is just who I am, this is just how I'm going to be, right? But what you're essentially identifying is that there are mechanisms that we can identify that's under the hood that can fix the programming of the person and have them be a different way.
Exactly. And you're clearing out that block permanently.
Let's talk a little bit about how you...
I love that you mentioned, sorry, I just want to say, I just love that you mentioned that we get all these tools and things like that. You have all the tools you need. It's like I don't need even more tools into my basket. What I need to do instead of learning is start.
Correct. The skill of unlearning. I love it.
Yes.
You talk a lot about fulfillment and how to live authentically and how to only care about things that matter and just somehow find a shield to be able to protect yourself that things don't. So tell me a little bit about that. How did you come up with that ideology and how do you practice that in your real life and how you let your clients use that?
So can you reframe that question? I don't think I caught all of it.
Yeah, you talk about living authentically and living a life in a way where you care about things that genuinely matter to you and somehow developing a shield to not concern yourself with things that don't really matter to us. How did you come up with this type of an ideology and what tools do you to your clients so that they can live life this way?
Just one of the things you said, what do you mean by shield? You mentioned something about a shield.
Protecting yourself from things that don't really matter to you and not letting yourself be concerned with them.
Okay. So that's with the shield, it's more about clearing your blocks out the way. So not worrying what other people think. And when I say not worrying what other people think, we clear out the blocks. Let's say I don't worry what other people think. But let's say for me, I've cleared out those blocks out years ago. But here's the thing, I have choice. I still consciously care, but I know I'm doing it. I care what my 8-year-old, 9-year-old nephew thinks. I care what my closest friends think about me. But it's not like I feel bad enough or good enough, whether they think well of me or not, or my day's ruined. But if they don't like something about me, then I can see it from a different point of view. I can have a conversation about it. What's going on there? I can talk to it as opposed to me feeling, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I know I'm consciously putting in that effort. See, I actually care what my 9-year-old nephew thinks of me. And I'll ask him. I sometimes ask him. And some of the things he might say to me is, Stav, you're in another country. When am I going to see you again? I'll see you soon. So he says, misses me, loves me, and things like that. So it's like, okay, yeah, when can I go and see him again? I'm going to go and see him in the next month or so, for example. So there's things like that. But I know I'm consciously putting that in. So it's not like becoming a robot and not caring about what no one thinks, not caring about anything. It's around having that I'm not driven by the ups and downs of it, but I'm consciously aware of the thing. And so when clients come in, we're talking about discovery stuff first. When they're trying to find their true vision, it's almost, I want to find where they're at now and then go, okay, what do you really want? And then we go through it bit by bit. So I might have a client come in and they'll say, I want to focus on this. They think they want. And after a while, clearing the blocks and having a few sessions where we actually find out what they really want, what their hearts desire, and they get in touch with their real feelings. What they really want is not all these 10 things. It narrows down into 1 or 2 things. That's important to them.
Yeah. So if someone's listening to this podcast and they are at a place in life, they don't know what their vision is. They don't know what their purpose is. Obviously, the best thing they can do is get in touch with you and you can help them with that. But if they don't have the opportunity for that, what are a couple of things they can do on their own that can help with this journey?
Okay, 2 things. First thing is I want them to think about what they're doing and find out those have tos and shoulds are in their life. Have to. It's like I'm doing things, I'm trying to get something out of it. I'm trying to be good enough or important or things like that. So for example, I'm doing this degree because I have to do it because then my parents might think well of me, etc. Those have tos, if you want, they really point to limiting blocks in the way. There's no choice. When you have a have to, you don't have a choice. That's the first thing. Identify those have tos. The second thing is really think about what resonates with me. How is my life? What do I want my life to say? And it doesn't have to be like a vision for the rest of your life, because what you want today might change in the next 3 years. So for example, what you wanted when you were 10 years old, free just an ice cream or a video, that's not the vision that you want for the rest of your life, but that's what you wanted at that time. So it's like, right now, what would I like right now? What do I want the next 6 months or the next 3 years to say? And then who am I doing this for? Am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this to please a family member, to please my wife, to please my kids, etc.? And as part of the course, I have people take almost like their goal that they've come in with after we've narrowed it down and literally just go outside near a tree or outside, no technology, just a pen and paper, and just look at what they've already written down. Just let them meditate on that, almost like just write down anything that comes up, any feelings, any thoughts, because we really want to get in touch with the body around that. We're going to get out what this logical mind thinks about this. What does the body think of this? What does the body really, what do my feelings say about this thing that I really wanted? Am I on board with it?
And if someone feels I'm not on board with it, what's the recourse? They redo the exercise to get deeper?
Yeah, we'll redo the exercise, or we'll see because it could be just some blocks are in the way, as in some of the subconscious blocks that we spoke about. It's, I think I'm good enough to do it, or it's going to take too much hard work, or whatever the block is in the way. Or it could be like, actually, you know what, this is not really what I want. I'll give you an example. So let me just 1 second. Let's go up here. Had an example with one of the clients came in. These were his goals: improve self-esteem, believe in myself, put my all into work and believe that is good enough and stop comparing myself to others' achievements, make more time with my wife, socialize with her, break out of the mummy and daddy roles, make more friends and acquaintances, be more charitable, support those in need, make more effort to support family who are suffering due to loss. These were his original goals he came up through a couple of weeks doing about the exercise that we just spoke about. This was his final thing. By the way, this doesn't mean anything to me, but for this person, as he was saying it, this read to him. My faith pushed pushes me to constantly challenge and improve on things. I always feel energy, excitement because of what is to come and remain forever. Just the core of me is left, and what I want from life, to be loved, to love others, and to be myself through the love of all living things around me. Now, as he was saying this, and as he discovered this through those exercises, he was tearing up. That doesn't mean nothing to me. I'm reading, I was like, I have no idea. But to him, that was my vision. And from that, we can then set the tasks, the goals to accomplish that vision as well from then on. It's all about, and it's very tailored, very personalized, very unique, finding that which is unique to that person. But as he was going through, because after we narrowed those things down and he picked these things out, you could tell as soon as he was saying it, tears flooding, emotional coming straight away. Very emotional. Like I said, that means nothing to me.
Definitely
doesn't have to mean anything
much
to me. Yeah.
Deeper look to what is happening on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to just treading water on an impossible tasks that we haven't even assigned ourselves that we don't like doing. What you're offering are processes, tools, and methodologies that can go beyond the surface and really get to the core of what makes the person tick. And then when they have learned what makes them tick, it's much easier to come up with the vision, the purpose, the way of life, the way to be happy, the way to be fulfilled.
And a couple of things. You saw how the original goals were very different from his ultimate vision. His original goals, if you want, more cookie clutter, if you want, improve on myself, believe in myself, make more time with wife. They were very, if you want, surfacey stuff. And then his new vision, totally different with him. And also we go even deeper that with that vision is, as I'm doing the task related to that vision, there's also going to be stuff that you like to do about it. There's going to be stuff that you resonate with if you want. So for some of his, it could be like, I'm going to read the Bible, for example. That gives me stuff for my vision. I get really excited about doing that. There's other stuff like, nah, you know what? I don't want to do that. It's fine. It's almost like going even deeper on that vision, finding those things in those bits that excite you. It's almost when someone may say, oh, I don't like my work or I hate my work. There's going to be some stuff in their day to day, even tiny, that is going to be, oh my God, this really lights me up. It's just colored by all the other stuff.
No, I love it. I love it. What you're offering is invaluable, Stavros. So where do people find you?
You can find me on my website. That's cleardiscover.com. What I have Clear Discover, because I have the two programs of clearing out those blocks in the way, and discovering your vision, your purpose. The discovering program does also include some clearing out that in the program, but it's not its main focus, but it does include some sessions of that. The clearing is primarily to clear the patterns, the blocks that we have in the way.
I love it. I will definitely link all of these in the podcast itself. So for those of you who are listening to this, who are suffering with subconscious blocks that is getting in your way from being optimally performing, from being happy, from being fulfilled, I highly recommend Stavros. Check out the links, get in touch with him. Stavros, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
It's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.